Matter, this is John Regan, Chair of the Auburn Planning Board. Permit me to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Ron Brooks?
Aye.
Steve Chambers?
Present.
Todd Crane is not here. Dwara Keshnallen?
Present.
Town officials and employees participating, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Town Planner Adam Menard?
Here.
Staff Assistant Rachel Pressey?
I'm here, John.
Thank you. Good evening. This open meeting of the Town of Auburn Planning Board of Tuesday, September 28, 2021 is now called to order at 7 p.m. This meeting is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, and extended on June 16, 2021. For this meeting, the Planning Board is convening in person and by remote access. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, call 1-312-757-3121 and enter access code 133-747-477. Or the public can join via computer at the gotomeeting.com/join/133747477. The remote access information has been posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Auburn Cable Television. Is there anyone here in the audience tonight that is recording tonight's meeting? Accordingly, those members of the Planning Board, employees, and members of the public who participate remotely, please be aware that folks may be able to see you, and take care not to share your screen or your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Please rise and join us in the salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The meeting materials, all supporting materials that have been provided to the members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Meeting business ground rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, Chair of the Board, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the Chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to speak clearly and into the microphone in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. I would like to remind the audience, applicants, town administration, and each of the planning board members to please refrain from asking questions in regard to all matters discussed this evening without being first granted my consent. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. First up on our agenda, 7 p.m., applicant Faza Management Incorporated requesting site plan approval under section 3.2.2.2 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for 12 townhouses at 262 Central Street, Auburn, Mass. 01501, map 56, parcel 82. Is there anyone from representing the management company here tonight? Go ahead, Norman. Please go to the podium, speak clearly into the microphone right above the computer.
Good evening. My name is Norman Hill. I'm a licensed civil engineer, also a licensed land surveyor with a consulting firm of land planning. With me tonight is the investor on the property, Mr. Del Costa, sitting right next to me. And next to him is the architect on the project. His name's Jose Guzman. The existing site, it's about 1.5 acres. There's one single-family house and a detached garage on the site now. It's on the corner of Prentice Street and Central Street. So if you go out Central Street, almost to the end, just before Prentice Street, it'd be on your right. The site's about 1.5 acres, goes uphill from the road and to the house, and it goes downhill behind the house. A client is proposing 12 townhouse units consisting of 4 3-unit buildings. He intends to condoize each unit, so it's not going to be non-owner occupied. Each owner will live in their unit as a single family would live in each unit. So they'll be condoized. It's not going to be an apartment building. And that's his plan for this facility. Each unit will be, there's town sewer and town water at the site, so each unit will be connected to town sewer and town water. Regarding drainage, there'll be no increase in drainage from the site. What we're going to do is all the water from the road, from the driveways, is going to go under the driveway into infiltration systems, and all the water coming off the roof of each unit is going to go in an underground infiltration system. The existing site is all gravel. We've done test holes. We're down about 12 feet, pure sand and gravel. So it will quickly absorb any water we put into the ground. Adam has been forwarding me the department comments as he receives them. One comment came from the fire department asking for an emergency exit. And we're willing to revise the plan to give them that emergency exit. They'd like a gate that locks, and only the fire department has the key. So we've designed the site with just the one entrance, but the fire department, in case that one entrance is locked, they'd like to have another way in, so we're willing to make that change. I'd be interested to hear what the board has to say about that tonight. Our client is not a big developer, so he's going to be hiring local contractors to build this. So he'll probably hire a local foundation guy, a local frame, a local roof, a local cider. So this will provide jobs in the area. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Chris, do you have any questions?
Yes. So let me start with the, so when I'm looking at the the plans, I don't see, so there's no indication of the overhead wires for each unit from an electrical standpoint.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand that.
The overhead wires, the electric utility wire.
Are you looking for floor plans?
Utility.
The utility.
Utility, are they underground,
Electric utility,
overhead?
cable TV, telephone, overhead or underground?
Oh, overhead.
Not shown on the plan.
No, it's not shown on the plan.
Then on the parking side, so I think you've indicated in the description that it's just 2 spots per unit. Is there a visitor? Is there additional parking spots that you would want to?
Each unit will have 2 parking in the garage and 2 additional ones in front. So essentially, they have 4 parking spaces for each unit.
Another question, I'll come back to those. No, I was going to ask about the fire department's request.
Yes, our clients, we're going to revise the plan too. We're not going to ask you to vote on this tonight. This is sort of an introduction. We haven't got the engineer's review yet either. But yeah, we're going to revise these plans. I wanted to get everybody's comments and then submit the revised plans once we receive everybody's comments.
Okay. That's good for now.
And that's specific to the weight of the fire truck being able to go on the road with, you have those comments as well?
Yes, those infiltration systems will be H20, designed for heavy trucks.
And all 3 bedroom units?
Yes.
4 cars. Okay, so with those comments from the fire department, I don't think I had anything additional if we're going to revise on those.
Ron, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, could he just go over the parking, what each unit has for parking? I think he said there was 2 garage units, two garage spaces per unit, and how many others? Have him explain that again to me.
Sure.
Yes, each unit will have parking inside the garage for 2 cars, and then additional 2 other cars could park directly in front of that garage. So you could put 4 cars on each site.
Catch that, Ron?
So each unit has a total of 4 parking spaces?
Yes, yes.
Technically, yeah.
Okay.
Anything else, Ron?
No, not at this time.
Okay, on sheet number 3, I'm looking at the utility plan. I'm looking at the water main, and it's a 6-inch water main. And that 6-inch water main, I believe, goes down Prentice Ave. There's nothing coming up Central Street that far? My question is, with a 6-inch water main, you have 12 units, plus the neighborhood. Is there enough water pressure to even handle the 12 units?
I've asked that question of the water department, and they say they have good water pressure at this site.
Yeah, at the site, but once you divide that up 12 times, you don't have as much pressure. Not even close. So I would investigate that. Because you have a fire hydrant there too, so I'm worried about supply with a 6-inch main for fire protection up there. I know the homes are gonna have sprinklers, if I'm not mistaken, from what I read on the plans.
That's correct.
Even so, you still have to have the ability to fight fire.
That's correct. Each unit would have a sprinkler system. Yeah.
And then at the bottom of the page where you show the water main being, looks like tapped off the line that goes from Prentice Ave,
Yes.
down along the north side of the road, you have it 90'd into the site. You can't do that. Should be 245s and mega lugs, field lock gaskets on both lengths of pipe either side, so it doesn't pull apart. And then, on your sewer line, you show the existing sewer manhole, 8-inch, 10-inch, 10-inch. So the 8-inch is going into the site. You show 8-inch coming down Central Street. Then you show 10-inch on the east side of the intersecting manhole. Is that a 10-inch coming out of Gleason Park? Because it's not
It
labeled.
should be labeled as an 8-inch. If it says 10, that's a typo.
You show 2 10s and an 8.
Yeah, it
There's
should
4
all be
lines going into that manhole. There will be. One from your development, one from the west on Central Street. The downstream side on the east side of Central Street is a 10-inch, and there's a line going into Gleason Park, which isn't, Gleason Park, which isn't labeled.
We'll make those changes that you suggested.
But there's no water line on Central Street unless you tap into Prentice Ave.
Right, there's no line on Central Street now.
Okay, so how far is it from the corner of Prentice Ave and Central Street to where the road comes back around and meets? Just down Central Street from your development down.
The main entrance from Prentice Ave is about 150 feet from Prentice Ave.
Right, but I'm talking the other way. How far is it to the next road down?
Oh, to the one that the fire department has requested?
No, you're gonna go east
Oh,
on Central Ave, down the hill,
it's about
or
probably
roughly where, there's
probably about 600 feet. About 600 feet to the next intersection.
Is there a water main down there that comes up like an 8-inch?
There is a water main on Prentice, and at the bottom of the hill, I believe there's a water main too.
So if that's 8-inch or 10-inch down there, you might wanna come from there and make a loop, because most water departments don't want dead-end lines, if they can help it.
John, if I can
Sure.
suggest the water district, in their comments, they did suggest that. So it looks like, so they want you to come in from the Prentice Ave, come down and then put a hydrant at the end.
Dead-end line, though. Water departments usually like loops, because it's easier to flush. On page 5, at the entrance, left and right, there's like little peanut-sized things that have hash marks in them, almost like a parquet floor. I don't know what those are because it's not on the legend.
I don't have that sheet with me tonight, Adam. Sheet 4, can you put sheet 4 up, Adam?
Sheet 5. Yeah, it's that sheet right there. Keep going. All right. So right and left of the entrance, there's like 2 peanut-shaped things that are hash marked like a parquet floor. There's no identifying thing on the legend. I have no idea what those are.
Those are proposed planting areas for flowers.
And then when you go up to the north side of your cross street, your driveway that has the 2 drainage systems in it, I see the light, to the right of the hydrant. And then there's another unit there, which I didn't see anything on your legend for that. It looks like it might be a curb stop for the water.
I'm not sure. Could you repeat that? I'm not sure what you said.
Okay, when you come in the roadway from Central Street up your access road, right at the end is a hydrant on the water, right? To the right of that, you'll see a rectangular box, which looks like it might be an underground telephone box. Then you see the light that's marked there. To the right of that is a circle with like two little ears on it, and it's on top of the water service going to the house. Is that the curb stop? Because that's not identified in the legend. Let me see that over there.
You ask about what that rectangle represents?
No, you have the rectangle, the circle to the right, which is the light. And then there's another circle to the right of that on top of the water service.
Shut-off valve.
That's not on the legend. On your detail plan, page 7, we'll start with the precast concrete catch basin detail. You show the hood inside, but you don't identify what it is, whether it's cast iron or HDPE.
We'll revise that plan.
And then to the right of that, the precast concrete manhole detail. That should be a core and seal boot. That's not shown either.
We'll add that.
And then we get down to the bituminous concrete curb detail. Bituminous concrete curb never goes on the surface pavement. It goes on the binder. It never goes on the surface because it won't stay.
We'll change that.
And then the bituminous concrete paving detail, it should be 1.5 inches at top, 2.5 inches of base, 12 inches of gravel, not 8.
We'll change that.
And then on your wheelchair ramp detail, it says limits of wheelchair ramp, cement concrete, or hot asphalt mix. You need to clarify that because as far as I know, all of the wheelchair ramps have to be concrete with the bumps in it.
We'll change that to concrete.
And on page 8, on your steel post bollards for your fencing around the proposed dumpster pad fence detail, you only have them coming up part way into the yellow warning. I know you usually cover them with plastic. That needs to be full height. It's only 4 feet. So the top can be knocked over if a truck hits it, bend right over. That should be full height steel pipe.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you repeat that, please?
Sure. Page 8, top left corner, dumpster pad plan review. In your description, set 1 7/8 inch steel post in 4-inch diameter core drilled hole within concrete slab. Set steel post in hydraulic cement. Steel post to extend halfway up vinyl post cover. It's got to extend all the way up the vinyl post cover because your vinyl fence won't stay.
We'll change that.
And then when you move to the right of the page, typical valve connection, where you show your thrust block on the T, there's no dimensions. It should be, the thrust block should be dimensioned according to the pressure in the line and the size of the pipe.
We'll add those dimensions.
And then down on the typical service connection for the water, the main is never tapped at 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock. It's always tapped depending on what side of the street you're on, between 1 and like 2:30 and between 10 and 9, something like that. It's got to come up so they can put the loop in the, you have to put a loop in the pipe so it has room to settle. There should be a concrete block under the curb stop, so if anybody runs over the curb stop, it doesn't shear off the pipe.
We'll change that.
And the, and then your typical hydrant valve detail, you classify the T as a valve anchor T, then the valve should be mounted on the T, not 6 feet away, or 6 inches away at 3 foot max. Should be mounted right on the T. That's what the valve anchor T is for.
All right.
And then all your joints should be megalug. Going in, and it should be a cubic yard of 3/4 inch stone, not 4 cubic feet. So when they shut off the hydrant, it has plenty of room to drain. That's all I have for comments.
I do. I have one question, maybe this is for Adam. Adam, is there any, has the Historical Society weighed in on this? Is there any need for them to review this?
I did not pass that on to Historical Commission. They're not usually on the list of department heads. I'm kind of a standalone entity. I can certainly pass this along. There's no demolition bylaw in town. That's like one thing I can tell you with historical units. We don't have that. This has not been passed along to the Historical Commission. They're not normally on the list of department heads that we pass this along to, but I can certainly pass this along to that commission.
One last question, John.
Sure, absolutely.
On the, so from a construction perspective, would you expect noise impacts? Would you be thinking of barriers on the perimeter?
At the lower end, we would have a siltation control barrier during construction.
Question was sound.
I was just talking about the noise barrier. If there's any noise barrier, just because you are building in a lot of like these units, would there be any additional noise barriers that you would erect during construction phase?
No, other than the siltation controls.
Ron, do you have any more questions?
John, on the individual water lines that feed each unit, there's 4 units, but from the street they come off of a steel or cast iron pipe. And then what are they made out of when they go from the street, from the town's water supply into each unit?
I'm not sure what the water department spec is. It's usually copper or a certain type of plastic.
Yeah, I think it's usually 1 inch copper, but on these units, being 3 units each, I would imagine it should be something bigger than one.
Each
I'm
unit,
just curious.
right, each unit, from what I can see, gets its own water service, and it comes off the main as a 2 inch and reduces to 1 inch at the curb stop. They need something that big in order to feed the sprinkler systems.
And the other thing I want to say, John, is I think the other member just touched on it, is I think we should invoke some kind of additional screening because of, you know, the size of the units that are being constructed and that they're just being dropped right into a residential area like that. I think we should definitely have some live vegetation and possibly plastic fencing or vinyl fence all around it.
Okay. Anything else?
All set.
Go ahead, Steve.
So the sprinkler system, I know you guys just got the comment. Are you planning on using water, or are you looking at a different?
Water. They'll come off the water.
We definitely need to understand the water size and impacts of what the pressure. Thank you.
Anything else, guys? Is there anyone from the public that may have a comment? Please come to the podium and state your name and address, and speak clearly into the microphone right above the computer. You may be able to bend that down to your height.
So my name's Deirdre Donahue. I live at 7 Prentice Avenue. I just have a few questions. The initial one is really my ignorance on the process. I'm curious why planning would be involved before zoning was an issue. Is this a foregone conclusion that this is going to happen?
Not a foregone conclusion at all.
That's good. So, because it seems to me, it seems premature to talk planning if there's a zoning issue. And again, I don't know, I've not done this before, so I'm just asking.
Well, they generally come here first, and they still have to go to the zoning board. They have to get a special permit. I don't know why I'm back. They have to get a special permit
Yeah.
in order to be able to do this.
Okay,
And then it has to go through the process of the planning board and all the other zoning board of appeals. It's got to go, I think it's got to go to Conservation Commission because we have erosion control, correct? Possible wetlands down the back in the whole part of the property.
The determination didn't say that, but we can double check to make sure.
okay. And just a couple other issues. You mentioned water pressure, and I just want to say, so we live on that, right on the border of the wooded area that you're talking about. And we already struggle with water pressure. If there's a shower going on at the same time, the washer and the dishwasher's going on, and or washer and dryer. So that concerns me, what you mentioned. So I just thought I'd mention it. Also, when you talk about 4 cars potentially per unit, that's 48 additional cars potentially in a small residential area. Traffic changes the whole environment of the neighborhood. So that's a big concern. We all already have people speeding up and down Prentice Ave. People make it a cutoff. And it's going to take away from the ability to go out and walk your dog, and it's going to change things. And the other thing I wanted to ask is there a law or a bylaw, whatever you call this, the need to provide some percentage of the housing that's going up? Does some percentage have to be subsidized? Is that a law?
No.
Not necessary. So that won't happen.
There's a separate process for subsidized housing. There's nothing the town has that governs subsidized housing. It's state rules that govern it.
So that's not a plan for this property.
Not that
We're aware of.
we're aware of.
Okay, and is that something they have to define prior to building? Is that part of the process of vetting the process?
No, they don't have to build a building, or say they're building 6 homes up there. They don't have to have it affordable housing or subsidized
Right,
housing.
but is there a guarantee that there won't be? I know that sounds terrible, it's just a matter of understanding, that's all.
Well, at this point, I can't guarantee anything.
Okay, that's a fair thing. And then, traffic, the noise barriers too, well, I appreciate that comment. And I worry about it, and I don't know, again, I'm not an engineer, the runoff from our property, because it is higher, it's gonna run down. So that concerns me, where I already have some leakage into the basement with this season in particular, because there's been a lot of rain. We've been there for over 30 years, and we've not had that problem before. And I just am not to sound terrible, but I wanted to make a note that I think when someone comes before the planning board who is a professional in what they're doing, and I freely admit I'm not that person, I think they need to come prepared to be able to answer the questions. And it just kind of upsets me to think that you come here, someone comes here without the papers, without being able to, with many things that need to be corrected, and without being able to identify them. It makes me concerned for the building process if it does go ahead. But I appreciate your time and willingness to listen. Thank you.
This all has to go through a peer review, which goes through an engineering company. And then they're going to make their comments, and then they have to address those comments. And then it goes back to peer review again, someone the town hires that they have to pay for. And then if they don't address the comments properly, they send the comments back, so they have to correct them. It's not like a 5-minute thing or a 1 week.
No, I didn't assume
This is
that,
going to be
no.
months.
No, that's not what I'm saying. So, no, I understand what you're saying, but that's not
I
what I
got
was
your
saying at
point.
all. Huh?
I got your point.
Okay, great, thanks very much.
You're welcome. Please state your name and address. And you might want to move the mic up because you're a lot taller than she is.
So my name is Ken Kerber, and along with my wife, Janice, we live at 240 Central Street, and we've lived there since 1980. So we're opposed to building 12 townhouses at 262 Central Street. Consistent with the previous speaker, we have several objections. The first objection is the significant increase in traffic in the neighborhood. So the neighborhood at the end of Central Street is, as many of you know, is pretty small. By our count, it's about 42 homes if you use Sharon Avenue as the boundary. The neighborhood is nicely secluded from all of the highways in Auburn, and there's only 2 exits from the neighborhood, so along Central Street and then out Sharon Avenue. So the estimated number of 144 additional trips per day, as indicated in the application, I think would be a very significant increase in the amount of traffic in the neighborhood and the associated noise. And then consistent with the previous speaker, we appreciate that a number of years ago, the town paved Central Street. It needed it badly. But the unintended consequence of that has been speeding along Central Street. So there could even be a significant increase in the safety issue. The second objection is that this new development, we believe, is not in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood. So our neighborhood is made up of low-density, single-family housing with associated yards and gardens. Building 12 townhouses in a space that, at least by my understanding of local standards, is probably appropriate for maybe 2 or 3 homes, we see as an instance of overdevelopment. So if approved, we're also concerned that that could attract similar developments in the future. So one other comment I'll add about the water. We have the same issue with water pressure. We live at, on Central Street. If you turn on 2 things in the house at the same time, it really affects the water pressure. So I would really encourage you to pursue that more carefully with the Auburn Water District.
Let me interrupt you for a second.
So I would say, I'm sorry.
If you're having a problem with your water pressure, call the Auburn Water District. They'll come out and check the pressure at the house. And if it's low, they have to meet a certain requirement for fire protection.
So sort of in conclusion, I would say Janice and I would certainly welcome the addition of a few new individual homes in the neighborhood. I think that would be good for the neighborhood. But at the same time, we believe that building 12 townhouses is out of character with the neighborhood and would result in significant increases in noise, traffic, maybe even some safety concerns. Bottom line, we've been living in that neighborhood for over 40 years. We chose to live in a quiet area because it's lower stress, quite honestly. And we like to keep the neighborhood that way.
Oh, it's a quiet neighborhood. 7 o'clock, you hear a pin drop up there.
So thanks for the opportunity to comment to the plan.
Absolutely. Is there anybody else in the public that would like to make a comment?
Someone on the computer too.
Please state your name and your address into the microphone, please.
My name's Randy Lawrence. I live at 274 Central Street and directly across from where they want to build. All right. I have a couple of concerns. First of all, condominiums, they're owned by people. A lot of times they're owned by private investors who they rent them out. So you can't tell me they're going to be owner occupied. That's a blatant lie. You don't know, all right? Secondly, you're going to have all this new paving and, runoffs of roofs and everything. Several people in my neighborhood have wells. This could affect our wells, all right? What are you going to do about that? And it's kind of sad that you guys want to build 12 townhouses in a neighborhood that's mostly 100-year, 200-year-old homes. And I just think it's really sad. I've been in this town for, 25 years, and I've never seen anything like it. You're going to turn this into Worcester. I don't want to see it happen. Thank you.
Point well taken. Is there anyone else here in the live audience that'd like to make a comment? Please go to the podium, state your name and address, speak clearly into the microphone, please.
My name is John Masterson. I live at 3 Thomas Ave. There are 5 houses on Thomas Ave. I'll look out my front window now and I'll see a row of houses, townhouses, with a porch looking out over my house. So anything I do, I get 3 porches that all can look down and see what's going on in my driveway, in my house. Now I'll have to keep the shades all down. Won't be able to do anything in my yard without a neighborhood watching me. Shouldn't be happening in this area of Auburn. It's up high. Everyone's going to be able to see everything going on. I really don't feel that's a proper place to be putting 12 townhouses.
Well taken. Is there anyone else in the live audience? Please go to the podium, speak clearly into the microphone, and state your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Nancy, and I live on Prentice Ave. I
Excuse
have
me.
a huge
I hate to ask you this. Can you take off your mask because I can't understand a word you're saying? Thank you very much.
Welcome. So I have a huge concern with the whole parking thing. Prentice Ave is a very small street. People who live on Central Street go up and down Prentice Ave. Nobody takes Central Street, and the reason being is they're not going to go all the way around the whole town to do that. So they're creating 4 parking spots for each townhouse. That's 12 townhouses you're putting there. Well, 12 families and 6 townhouses. My issue is they're going to be coming up and down our street. We have pets, children, bus stop things. They're not taking into consideration any of the traffic that's going to impact our neighborhood. One of the selling points of Prentice Ave was the very super quiet neighborhood. You can sit out in the front, you can hear the birds. The other day on my house, on my screen door, there was a praying mantis. You don't see that stuff anymore. So I'm really, really opposed to the townhouses. It's not helping our community. It's stressing the community out more. Nobody's taking into consideration the people who pay the taxes there. It's a single family house. The whole place is like that. It's a community. It's not part of Worcester. You're taking and putting projects across the street from us. Whether they're good or bad, it doesn't matter. It's impacting our community hugely. And I appreciate your time for that.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the live audience? Go ahead. Please state your name and address.
My name is Mark Kamerick. My wife and I, Sandy and I, own the property on 260 Central Street. So we're a direct
Right next door?
Excuse me?
260?
260, yes.
Right next door. Yeah.
Right next door. I was born in that house, and it's a wonderful neighborhood. I learned to ride a bike there. I learned to drive a car on that street. It's incredibly quiet. It's incredibly safe. 48 units is going to dramatically change the character of that neighborhood. Possibly that's 48 new cars that'll be driving in and out of there daily. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. To date, Dell Realty has got off to a somewhat inauspicious start. They bought the property a year ago, September of 2020, and they literally abandoned it. They never mowed the lawn. They didn't close the doors. There was a swimming pool out back that's been full of stagnant water for a year, a breeding ground for mosquitoes carrying Triple E and West Nile virus. There were 5 town of Auburn trash receptacles full of trash that sat in front of the front door for a year. They're now in the street right now. And just yesterday, when they were up there working, when their workers left, they decided not to use the driveway, and they went right down across my front lawn and tore it up. But as I say, they're getting off to a somewhat inauspicious start. They almost seem like they have no concern for the neighborhood or the abutters. We're just basically in their way at this point. That's the way I'm feeling about it. Again, I understand the property has to be developed. The house that's there now is deeply distressed. It has a lot of historical significance, but it's probably not worth saving. Maybe 2 or 3 homes would be in character for the neighborhood, or maybe a scale, if they want to go ahead with townhouses, maybe scaling it back to 6 units or 9 units, but 12 is going to be far too much. It's going to put one right in my front yard.
I hear you. Anyone else in the live audience? Please go to the podium. Speak clearly, state your name and address, please.
Well, my name is Tony Icarino. I live at 4 Prentice Ave. There's been a lot of discussions tonight about the traffic on Prentice Ave and the surrounding streets. Can we give consideration to having a traffic study done for the neighborhood to see what those 144 daily trips would do to the traffic counts on Prentice and Central and Sharon Ave?
We can request it. I don't know if we can enforce it, but we can request it.
I think it would be in good faith to do that, because right now we are all assuming there's going to be a lot more traffic. We have nothing quantitative to evaluate. So I would request that be done. Thank you.
Anyone else in the live audience? Sure.
Hi, I'm Tim Keeney. I'm at 10 Prentice Ave, which is directly across the street from this undeveloped lot.
What address are you at?
What's that, sir?
What address are you at?
10 Prentice Ave. And I have a great concern about the parking as well. Oh, four cars per unit sounds wonderful. However, you know, when somebody has a party and there's 20 more cars shows up, where do those cars go? They're going to park on Prentice Ave. And Prentice Ave is really not wide enough to have a car parked in the street. And you know that's going to happen. And I'm really concerned about that. We've already talked about the water pressure. I have the same issues as everybody else on Prentice Ave. And again, I want to talk about the quality of life. Everybody has said what a wonderful, quiet neighborhood this is. And it really is. It is wonderful. I can let my cats go out. I'm not worried about them, except for maybe a coyote. But that's their hunting ground. And, you know, my quality of life will diminish. I'm going to, instead of looking at beautiful trees, I'm going to be looking at ugly buildings, which there's too many planned for. And I'm going to have lighting all night in my house. And it doesn't belong. Again, you know, develop it into 3 houses. That's fine. But this is heinous. And I strongly oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the live audience? Please come forward.
I'm Dorothy Icarino, and I live at 4 Prentice Avenue. That was my husband, Tony. I called the Historical Society this morning, and they said they had no idea that this is going on. I believe it's a 1750 house. I believe it's the second oldest house in Auburn. I was very friendly with the Andersons, Margie and Bernie, who were there for years, and daughter Kathy, who have left the property. I don't understand why the Historical Society is not aware that this is going on. They couldn't be with us here tonight, they said, because they had a previous engagement at Holy Cross. But I said, well, maybe you can make the October meeting and we can discuss it. But if the house is not put on the historical registry, which they said takes well over a year, and it's a lot of work, then then it's as good as doesn't matter. However, if we could prove that the Underground Railroad came through, and I understand it's a rumor, but if you go inside the house, there is evidence of that. I think we need to look a little bit closer at the actual structure. I mean, the fact that it's that old and has sat on that property for so long, it's almost disrespectful to just bulldoze it into the ground and put up this for the neighborhood. And my other concern is that, we're rebuilding Camp Gleason, the house. And I said, well, gee, what are we doing with that? What is the town planning to do with that? And they said, oh, well, we're just going to have art lessons and, gatherings, meetings. And I said, well, okay, so we've been doing that for 40 years. But then I thought, well, maybe this is phase 2. Okay, so now we've helped you develop this land. How would you like to buy Camp Gleason and put more townhouses in there? That's my concern. I mean, I have a lot of concerns. I don't know, but I think things need to be looked at a little bit closer before we explode the neighborhood. And everybody's going to want to pack up and leave. Thank you for listening.
Anyone else from the live audience? They have something to say? Please come up again.
Sorry, I meant to mention 2 things, and one thing, and someone else just kind of triggered my brain. It's very, the gentleman mentioned, cut down the number of condominiums. Well, any number of them will lower the value of our homes at Prentice Ave. It changes the whole milieu of the environment. And is that fair to us who have lived there for 30, 40, 20, 10, 5 people who just bought their house on Thomas Ave? Is that fair? I don't think so. And then I had a question about when you're talking about the planning. You mentioned trash. Is there going to be a trash bin there? I mean, if this happens, like one of those big blue crates, is that what they do?
Yeah, they have to fence it in.
So that's a eyesore for anyone around the area that has to see that fenced in or not, it's there. So I just wanted to add those 2 things. I think that the decrease in value of our property is a big thing. Thank you again.
Welcome. Is there anyone else in the live audience that has a comment? Please.
Mentioned it before. As he said, I was born in that house in 260, and I was very close friends with both Margie and Bernie Anderson. Bernie and I were really good friends, and I was in that house probably 100 times in my life. Down in the basement, Mr. Anderson showed me a small hidden room that was part of the Underground Railroad, where they hid the slaves when they were smuggled into this part of the country. And also, after that was over, that became a jail cell to hold prisoners and Confederate soldiers. Mrs. Anderson showed my mother on the first floor, before they sided it over, there were actually turret holes in the sides of the house, above and on both sides of the fireplace. And that was for the original owners to stick their muskets out in case of Indian attack. So, I mean, the house has some real significant historical value. Whether that warrants keeping it or not, that's another story. I mean, it would probably cost a fortune to remodel that house. But I'm just saying it's going to be a shame to bulldoze that and just lose it.
Thank you. Anyone else in the live audience have a comment? Please go ahead.
I live at 8 Prentice Ave. I drive a concrete truck, and I go to these places all the time. They dig up the roads, they put in pipes. This takes a year. They build a few, get people in them, they keep digging. There's gonna be mud all over our roads. Big construction trucks they'll probably have them come in from Route 20. They follow their GPS. They're gonna come right up Prentice Ave. They're gonna be dragging all kinds of garbage. How are you going to put in, when the fire truck comes up Prentice Ave, he can't barely even get on to Central Street. How are you going to cut a emergency road right there at Prentice Ave. Doesn't even have enough room to turn a fire truck. What kind of emergency truck are we talking about? A van? Or maybe
That's,
a motorcycle?
that's the fire department's call. And believe me when I tell you, if it's access they need, they're gonna want it wide enough.
Well, it's not wide enough. And we're not gonna dig up all Prentice Ave for one little thing. You're gonna have the whole Prentice Ave dug up for the water. From what? The top to the bottom? The whole side?
No, it gets dug up on Central Street, from Central Street down.
I
The way
see
it
this
sho- the
every
way it
day.
showed.
We do
I'm not gonna
not
tell you it's
want
gonna get dug up that way, because I don't know, but that's what it's showing on the plans right now.
We do not want this. It's gonna be mayhem for a year, or who knows how long. We do not want this, trust me. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the live audience have a comment? Please come forward.
Hi, my name is Janice Kerber. I live at 240 Central Street with my husband Ken, and I am not the public speaker that my husband is, but I am a walker. I walk every day, and our neighborhood is a very tight circle. And on the walk, there are several blind spots. And I was telling my neighbor I should have videotaped my walk because the view of the road is blocked by the curve in several locations. And for part of our neighborhood, there's no sidewalk. So it's very narrow. It's the area next to the highway, 290, isn't that 290? And so when I walk, I have to, stick to the side, and anyone coming around wouldn't even see me. So it's very dangerous right now, right as it is, and never mind adding all those people. Now, there is a sidewalk, I think maybe from the gentleman who, 260, maybe the sidewalk starts there and goes down to Sharon Avenue. We're on the corner of Central and Sharon, but not other parts. And when I go down Prentice, that is a very narrow street. And fortunately, there aren't a lot of cars there right now, but I am concerned about the traffic. And especially if there's children. Now you figure 3 bedrooms, some of those people might have children. Well, I'm concerned about that because there's going to be kids walking in the neighborhood. So those are my concerns. So thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it. Anyone else from the live audience that may have a comment? Is there anyone from the remote audience that might have a comment?
John, it's Ronnie.
Hey, Ron, go ahead.
John, are we gonna vote on peer review, or has that already been done?
No, peer review has not been done yet. It's got to go out for peer review.
It's gone out.
It's gone out. But I don't know when we're going to get it back, but this was more of an introduction. We're not voting on anything tonight, Ron. In fact, I made the mistake. I should open the hearing.
And the other thing, John, is I just don't think myself that it's compatible with the neighborhood. I asked Adam this afternoon, and I'm not sure if he knew or if I don't remember what he said, or if he could check to see if there was any kind of a thing in the bylaws, about compatibility and safety of something like this being dropped into a strictly residential single-family home neighborhood. And then I also think that we should look into the possibility that it should be or is on the historical register. And I don't know that it is or isn't.
I don't know myself, Ron.
Those are my comments.
Anyone else in the remote audience online that has a comment?
Can you hear me okay?
Sure can. State your name and your address, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Stephen Fontaine. My wife, Jo Fontaine, is with me here. We happen to be away on vacation, but this was important enough for us to join. We actually we own 2 properties abutting this property. So it's on 4 Thomas Ave and 2 Thomas Ave, right behind the lot where the proposed development is looking to go in. Just on the get-go here, we don't support this effort here. Putting 12 units in, abutting our property, overlooking our backyards, that is already, the parcel is about 10 to 12 feet higher than our current properties that myself and my daughter reside at on the two properties below. Having it extend another 2-3 stories up behind us and then having decks overlook the backyard, I mean, we essentially lose all of our privacy that we have had for the last 35 plus years. We moved into the town in 1986. And I know Bernie Anderson. I know one of the callers earlier said that, he'd been in Bernie's cello. Bernie and I, we quite frequently did a lot of things in the backyard there each summer. He'd plow the back road there. We'd do some burning. And then at the end of the day, we'd have a beer together. And, great family. I think if they could come out of the grave and understand what was going on right now, they would probably turn over. A couple of other things that are a big concern of ours, obviously, is I think it's been voiced by some of the others as well, is just around the traffic, right? When you think they're proposed 2 cars for each unit, right? And then, they're going to have spaces out in front of the unit. That amount of traffic flow in a single family development is just like, it's crazy. It is an accident waiting to happen. The buses, when they come to pick the children, our kids attended Auburn schools, our grandkids are now going to Auburn schools, the bus traverses down that area. I'm telling you guys, if we had a traffic plan and they really understood the number of cars that come and go as a result of 12 new properties behind us, I think it's an accident waiting to happen. Just as you traverse out of the development up to Southbridge Street each day, down the end on the corner of Meadow and Central, you already have 9 or 10 units in there with 3 townhouses, and the traffic coming out of there, they blow right through the stop sign there on Prentice Ave. And I'm not here to kind of complain about that. I'm just saying that when you put that amount of cars together in a development, it's going to actually impede the safety of the entire neighborhood. The other thing that this actually does too, when you think about having structures behind you, and if they're 3 stories tall and each one of them, just thinking 8 feet or 8.5 feet per floor, that's going to extend up 24 to 26 feet, right? And it's going to impact it's going to pose a negative view for our property. I don't know what the solar capacity is. We're going to take all of that out now. We're not going to have any shading from any of the trees there. Years ago, there was, we were good friends with the Holstroms who owned 273. And then a gentleman passed away, the house directly across, and there was talk about, okay, well, what's going to happen with that house? And they took a fairly large property and they divided it up in 3 parcels. And I'm sure some people in the audience today own those properties. My wife and I have no issue with development. Obviously that helps the tax base in the town and so on. It helps all of us. But putting 12 units is not the right approach. We believe, and I think I've heard it even from a few, taking that property up, it's over 60,000 square feet. I think if they actually put 3 parcels in there, makes more sense for us. But putting 12 units in there, oh my God, I just think that's a lot. And then just two final things before I close here. There's a lot of wildlife there, right? We have birds, we've got sometimes we get deer coming through there, albeit you don't want that, right? But there's just a lot of wildlife in that little wooded area between us on Thomas and the parcels on Central. Now we know we can't protect all of that, but it will be adversely impacted. And then just in closing, just regarding the dumpster, right? Everybody in this building today, they self-contain their own trash. I have a bucket at the top of my driveway for my recycle and everything. Putting a smelly dumpster that supports 12 units in an encaged area or a fenced-in area rather, I mean, I'd hate to be where they're proposing it. I'd hate to be in the house right behind them and the smells you're going to get off of that dumpster. So I just really appreciate you allowing us to kind of voice our concerns with the proposed project, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the remote access that may have a comment? Being none, I'd like to read a letter that was sent to Adam by Mark Jamerick. It says, "Good morning, Adam. I just wanted to make you aware of something a representative of Dell Realty said to my tenant at 260 Central Street the other day. Now, I have no corroboration this has happened, but I thought it was in the best interest of everybody to bring this up. He told my tenant, we're purchasing the home you live in. We're making your landlord an offer he'll never turn down. Adam, this is highly unethical way to do business. Scare tactics. My tenant and his family are great people. They pay a lot of rent, and it's always in a timely manner. I don't want them harassed." He called me immediately upon being told this information, if it's true. I explained and comforted him, saying that it's not the case. The home is not for sale, nor has anyone from Dell Realty been in contact with me. I recommend the planning board tread carefully in their dealings with Dell Realty. They also told my tenant they plan on purchasing the entire block and building 28 townhouse units. Obviously, they plan on running roughshod over this lovely neighborhood in this part of town. Please keep in mind as things progress to go forward. Sincerely, Mark Jimrick. And I believe Adam's reply was, "Unfortunately, I'm unaware of any restrictions on the property relating to its historical nature. I am happy to pass along your comments to the planning board so they are aware of your concerns. The meeting is open to the public and will take place at the town hall. The meeting is being held both virtually and in person. The notice will have the login information if you can not make it to town hall." And then there was another note from Mark. "I just checked my mail and both the butter notices apparently came in Saturday's mail, so I apologize for that confusion. Now, is the meeting open to the public or is it a virtual one? My wife and I were unclear. 12 townhouses on a small parcel of land would mean they're possibly planning on tearing down the home that presently sits there. Do you realize the home was a major player in the Underground Railroad when slaves were hidden and smuggled north to avoid persecution and slavery? Also, if my memory serves me correctly, Mr. Anderson showed me a secret room in the basement which was initially used to hide slaves, was also used to jail and to hold Confederate soldiers. Has anyone addressed the significant historical relevance of this home, or are people simply not aware?" And then again, he sent another note. 12 townhouses on their parcel of land, ? I grew and was raised right next door. If my memory serves me correctly, the parcel is under 2 acres. Is this possible? My tenant just signed a long-term lease and he called me just the other night. He told me a representative of Dell is buying my home at 260 Central Street for me for an unspecified amount of money. You see, Adam, this is how I recently learned about the plans for 262 Central Street. I think you can see my reason for concern. I just thought I needed to read that because it was part of the planning board packet, and I thought everyone listening to the meeting and attending the meeting should hear that. Is there anyone else in the audience that may have a comment or concern? I may be out of my place, but this is what I'm going to say. I think it's up to the new owner to prove that's not a historical site. I've been up there. It's a granite foundation. The house was definitely built in the late 1700s. To tear that down, to me, would be a crime, an absolute crime. You can put 5 apartments in there, 4 apartments in there, whatever. But I think the way it came off tonight, it was like you're going to run the neighborhood over, and we can't have that in town. These people have been here for a long time. You're the newbie. So you got to try to get along, and that's not the way to do it. So, one more comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the audience, my name is...
Hang on a second, Ron. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the audience, my name is Steve Coleman. I'm your fire chief. I just wanted to make a comment just about Camp Gleason.
there was a comment that was made tonight, and I feel like I got to say something because I don't want people walking out of here tonight concerned that Camp Gleason is going to be sort of next on the development list. And I just want to talk real quickly about the work that's being done at Camp Gleason and why that was being done. So as many of you know, the town is in desperate need of meeting space. Camp Gleason is a town-owned building that has sort of been sitting vacant without a lot of use. So the town appropriated at town meeting $300,000 from the cable television money to do renovations of Camp Gleason, to do handicapped accessibility. There were building code issues that needed to be addressed in order for it to be a public space. The fire alarm system needed to be upgraded in order to use it as a public space. And there was some deterioration on the back of the building. So when you're driving down Route 20 and you see the back sort of exposed there, they're fixing structural issues in the building in order to do that. The town just invested, like I said, $300,000 into the building. I've been working in this community as part of the town administration leadership team for 16 years. That conversation has never come up in terms of selling Camp Gleason. That's a valuable piece of property to the town. It's one of the few beautiful parcels that we still own. So I don't want anybody walking out of here tonight thinking that that is on the town side. I think you'd be hard pressed to get the Board of Selectmen, any sitting board, to ever vote to release Camp Gleason. So I sort of saw the sense in the room when that was mentioned, and I just, you know, this is a tough issue that everybody's here talking about tonight, and I just wanted you to be able to put your head on the pillow, not worrying about one more thing with this project. So Camp Gleason, like I said, it's a valuable piece to the town. We look forward to having it once it's restored for community use down the road and for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, John, I agree with what you just said prior to the last speaker about it would be a shame to tear it down. It could become 3, 4, 5 apartments or 2 or 3 4 single-family homes, being that it was built. And I heard all the same stuff about the Underground Railroad, no people that saw the room, and another one up in the attic that was a hidden room and stuff like that. It's just a major encumbrance on that neighborhood, and I hope that we look to see if there's any way or anything in the bylaws that could possibly prevent it.
Anything else, Ron?
I'm good, thank you.
Anyone else have a public comment? Anyone else on the remote service have a comment? Being none, I made a mistake. I did not open the hearing tonight. May I have a motion?
Yep.
Let's proceed to full power.
I'll make a motion.
I'll make the motion, John.
You want to second it?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye from the gentleman down the end, Derek Hesch, and Steve Chambers, an aye from Ron Brooks, and an aye from John Regan. Now may I have a motion to continue the hearing to our next planning board meeting, which is October 12th.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Eric Hesch, aye. Steve Chambers?
Aye.
Ron Brooks?
Aye.
I myself, John Regan, aye. It is a vote. Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. To section 3.9.1.4 and adding a new section 14, animals, to the Auburn zoning bylaw. Adam, were you taking a vote to support this, or?
Yes, procedure for town meeting that this board needs to report to the town meeting members whether they recommend approval or not recommend approval. Yeah, it's public hearing, so probably should do the formality.
May I have a motion to open this for the amendment to the zoning Auburn bylaw concerning animals, section 14?
I'll make a motion to open.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Steve Chambers, aye.
Steve Chambers, aye. Ron?
Aye.
And myself, John Regan, an aye. It is a vote. The hearing is now open. So can you just give the public a quick read up on what this pertains to, Adam?
Sure. So currently, there's limited regulation for animals in zoning. Currently, the regs read that someone can have no more than 4 pets at a house. This could be cats, dogs, gerbils, any combination, 4. So this change will allow more than that, for one, up to 6 household pets. And there are some special permits that we're adding to, someone wanted to have more than that. It also creates regulations for poultry, turkeys, chickens, that kind of thing, livestock, exotic pets, aviaries. The animal control officer and Board of Health director, myself, and building commissioner spent a lot of time going through these. This kind of address a lot of the problems that especially animal control has had over the past few years. So it really lends some structure to what's allowed and where they can be allowed, protecting both the pet owner and the neighbors.
Though they're increasing the amount of pets you can have, 4 to 6, which means you can still keep your 6 chickens.
Correct. And depending on the size of your property, you can have more than 6 chickens.
But you have to go for a permit for that, correct?
Correct.
So you wouldn't be willy-nilly.
Right.
Could I have a motion to recommend this to the selectmen?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Duarkesh?
Aye.
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Myself, John Regan, and I. It is a vote. Next on the agenda is amendments to section 5.4 dimensional regulations table of the Auburn zoning bylaw. May I have a motion to open this hearing?
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Ron?
Aye.
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 And myself, John Regan, is an aye. Adam, can you please give us a quick rundown on this one, please?
Sure. So this proposed change came about for several reasons. The big one was economic development. Currently, the height restrictions are limiting certain kinds of business from coming into town. Depending on the zone, you can only have 25 or 30 feet for maximum height. A lot of newer businesses looking to go taller, especially distribution, biotech, pharmaceutical, apartment, I suppose apartment buildings too go higher. So we're trying to be proactive to attract diverse business. There's a lot of retail in Auburn, which is good, but in the 21st century, retail is unfortunately a crapshoot these days. A lot of them gone bankrupt, Sears, for example. So we want to attract diverse business. And this is also part of, we've also had a lot of feedback from recent planning, economic development plan, master plan. People really want diverse business. So this is to try to help attract new business.
So the pictures that have been supplied in the packet, they're just representations of what possibly, to give somebody an idea of what height these buildings are?
Correct.
Nothing definitive saying they're going where they're shown.
We have not received any specific requests or permitting applications regarding these. The fire department was good enough to put these renderings together just to kind of give people an idea of what it may look like. And
I really appreciate it because it really gives you a visual on what we're talking about here.
Is there additional equipment that's needed for the fire department to support this, or existing equipment?
Hi, Chief.
Good evening. Through the chair, it's a great question. The answer is no. So one of the questions that's often asked when we talk about buildings of height is the question of, well, will your ladder reach? So when you go to cities like Worcester or Boston, they obviously have buildings that are much taller than what their fire department ladders or their aerial trucks can do. So our trucks are not designed for height. The current ladder that we own here in Auburn is a 95-foot ladder, but that 95-foot is for reach because we never operate the ladder in the vertical at 95 feet, right? So the theory is that when you pull up, say we have a fire on Central Street, the truck is parked and set up on Central Street, you need the 95 feet in order to operate this way to get to the peak of a roof or to a roof. Now, the reality is that there's buildings, both commercial and residential, in the community that our ladder truck can't reach now. either because of topography or the distance from the building off of the street. So when we're talking about a 5 to 8 story mid-rise building, the anticipation is that we would never try to access the roof of a building like that anyway. With me tonight, if you're interested from hearing from him, I have Josh Donovan, one of our fire inspectors. He's also our fire protection engineer within the fire prevention office. He's the one that provided those renderings for you. You know, as Inspector Donovan would tell you, when you get into these mid-rise buildings, it triggers certain things within the building code that actually requires these buildings to be safer than the typical box stores or things that we have now. Like I said to the zoning bylaw review committee, my job as your fire chief is not to advocate one way or another for a specific business or a specific project. My job is to tell you what my concerns are relative to safety for these buildings. And my feeling as the fire chief is if I had the choice to deal with an 8-story mid-rise building in the vertical versus a 500-foot or a 500 to 600 foot length box store, I would take the 8-story mid-rise every day of the week, right? Because we're talking about a smaller footprint. We're talking about smoke that travels in the vertical, so it's the containment is easier. When we're talking about mid-rise buildings, there's mechanical ventilation systems that actually help us control the smoke. Whereas if we have an incident at, take the Worcester Envelope Company or even the mall, when we get horizontal smoke travel, it's impossible to contain that. Not only because there's no mechanical systems in to do it, but it's just, you know, the smoke wants to travel that way, and it's much more challenging, even from hose line stretches. You know, the largest hose line stretch that we would have on an engine would be 250 feet. Beyond that, pressure-wise, it doesn't go. I can't do that in the Worcester Envelope Company. I can do that in a mid-rise. So, again, I'm not here to advocate one way or another. I'm just saying I don't want people to say that we shouldn't have or we don't want mid-rise buildings because it's a concern of the fire department or that the fire department can't operate. Because the reality is that the features in these buildings, it actually makes it safer for our firefighters to operate versus a big box store. As Adam mentioned, there are certainly economic development reasons that, you know, the town is obviously looking to do this, but from a safety perspective, the fire department has none with this bylaw proposal.
Thank you.
So the safety features, those are all in the building code, right? That's not something we need to address.
Correct.
Thank you.
And tell me if I'm wrong, but when you go into a big building like that, tall, every floor has a fire hose. They have the alarms, they have the sprinkler systems, all that stuff, but there's still, from what I've seen in the newer buildings, there's a fire hose almost on every floor, so a fireman could actually go in on top of what you bring from the outside.
Well, those fire hoses that are in those buildings, those are designed for, I don't even want to say civilian use because we don't encourage civilians to grab that hose. Those are designed for safety teams within certain buildings. Take Worcester Envelope, for example. They have a safety team within the facility. They have certain training, they have certain equipment where they may be able to, depending on the size of the fire, and we've had several in that building over the last several years, they make the determination as to whether or not they can at least try to suppress the fire before our arrival. We would never use a hose that is in a building because they're not designed for our use. They're not rated for our use. So we would always, and we do it with our hotels, we go in with what we call a high-rise pack. We bring our own hose, and then we would hook up to the standpipes and the fire, the connections in the stairways of those buildings, and then that's how we would operate. So yes, the taller the building, it trips it into another class, another building type, which would be a type 1, which is the highest rated building. And then it triggers a whole new section of the building code that increases the amount of safety features that are in that building. And when we're talking about the proposal that's before you tonight is a maximum of an 8-story mid-rise, those safety features would trip with this building height.
Thank you. Ron, do you have any questions?
No questions on my side.
Ron, do you have any questions?
I I can't even understand anybody that's talking, John, other than you right now. Everything's inaudible.
Well, to give you a real quick synopsis, they'd rather have an 8-story mid-rise building and fight a fire in that than fight a fire in a building like Home Depot or Worcester Envelope. It's easier to contain, smoke goes up, doesn't go sideways. And depending on the level of the building, it triggers different safety features in the building. The 8-story up triggers the #1 safety requirement by the building code. So he does not have a problem with the 8-story mid-rise building.
And who was that was speaking, John?
Our fire chief.
Oh. And now, does this mean that we're going to change the height limitations on buildings that are allowed?
I think it's already changed, isn't it?
Oh, we're not going to change it at town meeting, yes.
Did you do that, Ron?
Town meeting is next
John,
month.
Yes.
in the packet, there was a whole bunch of pictures of overlays of different types of buildings on different what relevance did that have? I did not understand them.
That was done by our fire safety engineer, who was part of the Auburn Fire Department, and it was just to give people an idea, us and anybody looking at the criteria here, what these buildings may look like in different parts of town. There is nothing saying they're going to build each building where he has shown a rendition. It was just to give us an idea of what the buildings may look like if this new height limit passes. Did you understand?
Okay.
Did you
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to, I'm sorry.
Just I wanted to add one thing. This is from town council. I got it today, so it's not in your packet. So I just wanted to consider it before you make a recommendation, actually make a determination on the town council's recommendation. There was a law passed in the state that changed the 48. The change is to allow town meeting to require only a majority vote instead of a 2/3 vote for certain zoning changes. Per town council, dimensional regulations fit into only the majority vote. Normally, it's 2/3 for all zoning changes. So the dimensional regulations would be 50% plus one vote, just a simple majority. So per the recommendation of town council, he recommended that the planning board include in its report to town meeting its determination as to which voting threshold applies to the zoning proposal. So after your votes today, I write up a brief synopsis of the vote and send it to the Board of Selectmen. So the town council would like you to make a determination that it is indeed just a majority vote and not 2/3. The majority vote is designed to make certain zoning changes easier, mainly to increase density, to encourage economic development, encourage more housing, more business. So I'd like you to consider that determination as you're making your vote, and to make that determination if you want to for the majority versus supermajority. Please.
May I have a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Ron?
Aye.
Rakesh?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Myself, John Regan, is an aye. Now, may I have a motion to recommend this to the selectmen to approve this new height requirement?
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Ron?
Opposed?
Steve?
Aye.
Aye.
Myself is an aye. It is a vote.
Did you also want to vote that it's a majority or super majority?
It was 3 to, yeah, it was a majority. It's somebody.
Majority.
Okay, next on the agenda is amendments to Section 3.2, Table of Uses, and Section 3.3, Description of Uses of the Auburn zoning bylaw. Can you give us when you're ready, Adam, give us a brief a brief rundown of what this entails?
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot going on here, but simply put, again, it's kind of an economic development aspect to it. We're trying to be proactive in attracting diverse business. The table of uses and description of uses has been updated intermittently over the past 40 years, about 12 times. So it's added one or two or removed one or two at a time, different types of uses. So this is basically a full rewrite. It was myself, Economic Development Coordinator, Building Commissioner, Board of Health, the Zoning Bylaw Review Committee also looked at this a couple times, both early this month as well as before the pandemic started. So this was on the back burner for almost 2 years now. We're adding a lot of new uses. We're removing a couple that are old. And we're kind of hopefully making it a little bit easier to understand. So.
May I have a motion to open this hearing?
Make that motion.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
After hearing what Adam has explained to us, does anybody have any questions? Ron, do you have any questions?
John, again, I couldn't understand the word he was saying. This comes up. I can hear you clearly now, and I can hear some of the other guys when they talk, but I could not understand one word. It just comes up all garbled.
All right, we're on the table of uses and description of uses. Can you hear me now? Ron? Oh.
Ron, you still there?
Yes.
Okay.
Gotta be that.
All right, Ron, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so the table of uses, the description of uses is kind of a full rewrite. The intent is to modernize the language, add 21st century businesses, kind of remove some of the 20th century businesses that no longer exist. We're trying to attract diverse businesses, promote economic development by all these changes. There's a lot of different changes, but I'm happy to answer questions if you have any.
John?
Yep.
John, I'm sorry, but I can't understand them. So that's okay. You guys will.
To give it to you in a nutshell, right? They're rewriting businesses from the 20th century out and writing new bylaws for business to be attracted in the 21st century because the 20th century businesses are no longer around. Taking point Sears, for an idea. That's the whole premise. To be able to attract a more diverse group of businesses to the town of Auburn to help our economic development.
John, on the prior one, with those buildings that we talked about that were overlaid on all the different sites,
Yep.
I mean, I heard you say something about they weren't built. Were they there for the purpose of suggesting that those buildings be built on those sites?
No,
No.
just to give you a visual of what these buildings may look like down the road. And not in those particular lots or parcels. It was just to give you an idea of what a building in the new layout approved by the selectmen, if it gets approved, what they would look like. Just to give you a visual idea of what these buildings may look like.
But not that they were proposed by anyone or anything.
Nothing's been proposed yet. Nothing.
Well, then, I don't know if Ray, you could change my vote to aye on that.
Already had it as an aye, so we're good.
It's already passed anyway, Ron, so we're good. But thank you. So, you're welcome. Any questions from the audience or the board regarding the amendments to section 3.2 of the uses section, 3.3 description of the uses of the Auburn zoning bylaw?
I have one question. So from the last month's or last time's review, have there been any changes to this? The table? The red line?
Oh, you mean since the last planning board meeting? Yeah, there was one change. We separated breweries from brew pubs. Made those two separate lines. That's the only change.
No other questions for me?
May I have a motion to close this hearing?
Make that motion?
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Rakesh?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Myself, John Regan, and I, it is a vote. May I have a motion to recommend this to the selectmen for the town meeting?
Make that motion.
May I
I'll
have a
second it.
All those in favor? Ron?
Aye.
Rakesh?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Myself, aye. John Regan, it is a vote. Next on the agenda is applicant NJ Realty requesting site plan approval under section 3.2.7.6 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a motor vehicle repair shop at 5 St. Mark Street, Auburn, Mass., map 50, parcel 61, continued from 9/14/2021. So I don't have to open the meeting, it's already been opened. Is there anyone here from the applicant?
Yes, good evening. Patrick McCarty Companies here on behalf of the applicant, and Bruce Ayers, CFO for Patrick Motor Group. Oh, sorry. Did I do that, Adam? Or are you doing that? I moved the mouse.
Yeah.
Okay with this package. You trying to find it, Adam?
Yeah.
There you go.
Should probably label these better.
Yep, there we go.
Okay.
Good to go?
Should have the peer review in there.
So I just handed him the peer review for that. Okay.
You got any back from them?
No.
So have you received and had a chance to review the peer review?
Yes, we had our opening meeting with the planning board on the 14th. We received the peer review letter on the 13th, so obviously not time to respond prior. The good news is this is a very short and sweet review letter from Graves, finding that there's no issues relative to compliance with the zoning bylaw. He found our HydroCAD calculations to be in order, that we're in compliance with the stormwater management guidelines. So comment number 4 is he just wants us to add the cleaning frequencies to our O&M plan. Comment number 5 is extend the erosion control barrier slightly. And comment 6 and 7 is just fixing 2 typos. So as I mentioned, we had our opening meeting with the planning board. We discussed the comments at that meeting, but we couldn't do anything with them at the time. Since that meeting on the 14th, we have gone before the Conservation Commission, and they've issued an order of conditions for the project. We've also gone before the Zoning Board of Appeals, and they've issued the aquifer special permit. So the planning board approval would be our last stop along the line here. Other than the Graves comments, we do have to fix our photometric plan. I should know better that it's 0 foot candles at the property line, but we had some spillover. So we've been going back and forth with the lighting consultant the past couple of days to get that tweaked so we have 0 foot candles at all boundaries. And then at the last meeting, one of the members of the planning board asked us about including a sidewalk. So I went back to the site, and there actually is a sidewalk on the opposite side of the street, all the way to the cul-de-sac. So I think we're covered under that aspect. So what I was hoping for this evening was that respectfully request that the board would vote to grant approval of this, subject to us turning in a set of site plans to Adam that have those couple of typos corrected in the photometric plan showing 0-foot candles at the lot line.
So I made a comment about the fence that is actually, I think, proposed to go over onto town property.
Yes.
I think that needs to be corrected before we could approve anything.
Yeah, so I think I explained that at the last meeting. So the wall, which you can see, I probably should step away.
So I did go by and I understand the conditions. I just, if I own the property and someone wanted to put a fence on my property, I don't want someone else doing that. So I think because you're actually going to be putting it on something, you have to find another avenue to correct that fence and make sure it's on your property.
I agree with you in principle, but the circumstances of this, that retaining wall is holding up the road. And that retaining wall is in the town right away. So a fence on our side of the property line would be at the bottom of the retaining wall.
As proposed, but if you were to fill that in or build an additional retaining wall on your land, you could run the fence on that. So again, I'm not trying to problem solve for you. I'm just saying that for us to approve anything on that, and I don't know if legally we could, I think that condition needs to be corrected.
I think that's what the town council.
I'd have to check with the council.
I think the easiest way out of this is just get an easement. Be able to put that fence up.
Yeah, I mean, I might, depending on when that wall was built, I might already have a prescriptive easement.
You may have, but we don't know that.
Right. And I agree with you that this probably isn't the right forum to go back and forth on it. The building code says it, it's over a certain height, so it needs a fence.
Correct.
Whoever put up the temporary fence now probably did that for security during demolition, then it just stayed there. I don't know what the condition was when the dome was actually there. I imagine there was a fence there at the time.
I have no idea, but that really has no bearing on what.
Yeah, I agree. So I think a fair condition would be for us to address the location of the fence with town council.
I don't think I have the ability in our realm of responsibilities to be able to say, yeah, we can make that a condition. I think that has to be brought to either town council or the town in some way to either say you already had an easement from the previous owner.
Yeah.
Or you have an easement and then you'd have to come back and then we could say yes, but I can't make an agreement with the town a condition. I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Right.
That's the only sticking point. And your lights, but I mean, that's nothing.
Yeah, like we did on Volkswagen, we conditioned that.
That's on the town property,
Well, the wall's on town property, so the question is who built the wall, which I think we had that discussion last time and nobody seemed to know the answer. I'm guessing that the wall was there because the road is at that elevation. And the pavement is of the same age from one side of the street to the other. There's no evidence of a saw cut line or a patch or anything that says that. So granted, I'm explaining something that isn't going to get me anywhere this evening, but just my opinion of why it is what it is. Yeah.
No, I'm not trying to be difficult either. I just don't know if we're actually allowed to make a recommendation unless that's corrected or we see that an easement is in place or.
Because, if we said okay with the fence now, and 15 years from now, Patrick Motor says, we don't want to be there anymore, we're going to sell it to another detailing shop or body shop.
Yep.
Some other landowner down there goes, hey, their fence is on town property, well, the planning board approved it, they can sue the town. And I'm not comfortable leaving the town open to anything like that. So I think it's a call with town council, or maybe Adam, and then it's up to you to research the deed to see if there is an easement for that wall, because it's already there and on town property. That may already exist, but I don't know that.
That's likely not to be a short discussion.
I don't know.
Right.
but to me, it should have been in the title search. Just saying. So I think we're kind of at an impasse here tonight, unfortunately. I know you want to get going, but I don't feel comfortable making that a condition. All the other ones, I don't think we'd have a problem with. It's, and that also gives you time to redo the plans, address the typos and the lighting on the plan. Next 2 weeks, you get an agreement down.
There was one addition that Todd mentioned, like this was on the ADA parking space.
Oh, yeah, I dug through that, and there is not, I've read through, I had two of the guys in my office read through, there's nothing that says which side it has to be on.
Side of what? I wasn't here.
This was the handicap space in the crosshatch. So we show, because of the entrance, we have the handicap space and then we have the van-sized hatch on the driver's side.
The comment is that most people that utilize a van would be getting out the passenger side.
Because when you only have one space, it has to be van accessible, which is an 8-foot space and an 8-foot hatch. A vehicle accessible could be 8-foot space, 5-foot hatch.
Enough to switch that on the plans, though? Do you have any objections to?
No, we just did it because that's where the entrance is, so if you flip it, then you're putting the vehicle, so now they're going around the vehicle versus backing into the space.
But I think the whole thing is they're getting out the passenger side.
If they pull into the space, if they back into the space, they're unloading and they're going right in the door, which is the shortest path, from the vehicle to the building is what Massachusetts AAB regulations say you need to provide, which was our logic to it. Everybody's assuming,
I'm not an expert on that.
Yeah.
Neither am I.
I know Todd was adamant, so I can't speak for him, but
Yep.
I think.
All right, I'll have to figure out a private engineer or developer can't reach out to town council, so I'll have to send an email request to Adam.
Yeah, I'll pass it right along in the morning.
Okay. We'll figure that one out.
So may I have a motion to continue this hearing?
I'll make a motion to continue.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Ron?
Aye.
Rakesh?
Aye.
Steve? Myself, John Regan. Aye. It is a vote. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Next on the list is applicant Sean Griffin of Griffin Homes LLC requesting a site plan review under section 3.2 and 2.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a two-family residence at 17 Willow Street, map 6, parcel 210, continued from 9/14/2021. Is there anyone here representing the applicant?
Hi, this is Sean. I'm here.
Okay, Sean, can you give us a quick review of what you're requesting?
Yeah, we actually, the site plan is still out for peer review with Graves Engineering, and as of now, we don't know when to expect it back. So we had to continue our last Conservation Commission hearing, and until we have the Conservation Commission's input, we'll want to continue this hearing as well.
I don't think that's a problem. If no one here has a comment or an objection, the audience online, being none, may I have a motion to continue this to our next meeting in October?
Make that motion.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Ron?
Aye.
Marcus?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Myself, John Regan. Aye, it is a vote. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Hopefully everything will be resolved by then.
John, may
Sure.
so this is the second time. I think he can notify us before the meeting.
Correct.
If he's looking for a continuance, and then he doesn't have to call in if he doesn't have everything, so.
Yeah, if you don't get everything done in the next 2 weeks, you can just call Adam and request a continuance before the meeting, so you don't have to waste your time waiting in line like you did tonight for 2 hours.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is applicant JM Cool Incorporated, Jim Fabry requesting site plan approval under section 3.2.7.0 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a distribution facility at 190 Washington Street, Auburn, Mass, map 34, parcel 4, continued from 9/14/2021. Is there anyone here representing the applicant, JM Pool?
Good evening. For the record, Travis Brown with Turning Point Engineering. Also here tonight is Jim Noyes from GPI, Traffic Engineer. This is for Lot 3, Commerce Drive of the Auburn Commerce Park. We had a couple meetings on this. If you remember at the last meeting, we were sending revised plans to Graves and revised comments in addition to VHB for traffic. We've since received a clean letter from Graves. All engineering review comments have been addressed. We've also received a comment letter back from VHB. Any traffic-related items, I'll turn that over to Mr. Noyes. But since that last meeting as well, we've met with the Conservation Commission. They have since voted to issue an order of conditions on the project, so that is approved. We also spoke about a fence. Originally, at the last meeting, we talked about a 6-foot-high fence, privacy fence, in addition to some screening at the top of that slope. Based on discussions with the board, it was recommended that we go to an 8-foot fence. We've done that. We've left the screening evergreens at the top of that slope to Meadowbrook. The properties, again, to reiterate the difference in elevation, will provide a barrier, not to mention that the mast pike is on that side. So we're trying to mitigate any visual sight and noise as best we can. Obviously, we talked about noise quite a bit. We feel that we've done everything that we can do. This is an allowed use in this zone. We've addressed all the comments, so I'd be happy to answer any questions.
That's the noise level when you're done. It's the backup alarms. That's what everybody's worried about. There was the resident up there at Meadowbrook brought up a point, and it's in my packet, so I'd be remiss in my duties if I didn't bring it forward. All of the material you have stored at the front of the site right now, I haven't been by there in a couple of days, so I don't know if it's still there. His suggestion was to add to the mound in the back, put all the stuff you were going to take away from the site possibly, and just make a mound in the back instead of a fence.
In addition.
Well, I don't know, it's still the fence.
You need the fence because you have the noise, but then you also have that large drop off.
So then you would only need a 6-foot fence, but an 8-foot fence would be great. But yes, so we could even higher barricade for noise.
A higher barricade?
It would if you took all the dirt you have down in the front and brought it up there. It's probably going to be a 10-foot berm.
Yeah, again, it's a 40-foot difference, or actually more than that, 50, almost 60-foot difference from the building elevation to those units in the back. Not to mention an 8-foot fence and staggered evergreen plantings to screen it. Again, this is an industrial zone. It's an allowed use.
I understand. And you come a long way from when we first started out with fencing and evergreens and all that. Forgive me for asking this question, but if you plant the evergreens, like arborvitae, whatever you're going to use for screening and sound barrier, how tall are they going to be when you plant them?
So they are, let me just get this accurate. Yeah, so they're called out on the landscape plan to be 8 to 10 feet in height. So they'll already be at the fence or taller.
When you put your 8-foot fence in, because that's such a slope, I know what you're talking about, the difference in elevation. Would those evergreens be further up the slope or right on top of the fence?
Go to the landscape plan, Adam. I think it's L1 or L2 towards the end of the set. Yes. So if you could just zoom in maybe on that portion. So at the property line, we call out that 8-foot solid fence. And then on our project side would be those evergreens. So then you have a line of them. And then towards the back corner, you can see where they're staggered. And that's basically.
So they're on the downhill side of the fence.
Yes, slightly downhill.
Toward your parking lot,
Yeah, slightly downhill. I mean, they're all at the top of that slope, but.
So, in my eyes, with the 8-foot fence, if you just had the 8-foot fence there, you're going to get echo back and forth from the fence to the building. But now with the evergreens in the place, it's going to soften that sound. It's going to break up the sound. That's what I'm seeing. I don't know if anybody has seen anything different.
Except for the elevation, so they'll still be
60 feet. Well, you're going to have, if you have 60 feet now, you're going to have 68. And then, because that elevation is, say, 60 and the ground is 0 at the parking lot, that'll be, the top of that fence will be elevation 68. And if the tree's 10 feet tall, that'll be elevation 70. I don't know how much higher we can go. Agreed?
Yeah.
Is there anything else we need to discuss on this? Anybody else have any questions?
I had a question about Mass DOT and the progress you guys made there.
Yeah, from our understanding, it's still under review, so there's nothing new that has come out of that process, unfortunately. As you can imagine, it's a slow process. I don't think that changes the purview of this board on this particular project. Yes, we have made progress. It's on, I believe, for town meeting to be able to tie in that sewer manhole in the back, if that's what you're referring to.
The state is still doing the NEPA review, and shortly thereafter, they'll do the DOT review. So it may be several months still before we have anything from the state. We've asked the state to tell us when they're completed. Talk to me.
So are we allowed to move the project forward on our end by approving everything that's come along with the condition that obviously they have to get approval from the Mass DOT and NEPA?
Yep, it is.
Make that
Yep.
a condition.
It's a standard condition that all state, local, and federal permits are met.
And the working hours would be 7 to 5, 8 to 12 on Saturdays. Anybody have any objection to that on the board? Okay. Ron, do you have any objections or comments?
No.
I did have a question, Adam, if they come back and want to substantially change, like MassDOT or something wants to change where the locations are, is that?
They have to come back to us.
Yeah, I mean, if they change like the access, site access, yeah, they definitely have to do it. Any changes like the slow down lanes or speed up lanes on the pike, I think that's all MassDOT. I don't think that's anything just the board has really purview over. If they're doing anything on the site or the subdivision, yeah.
But if they change the curb cut, let's say for the entrance, would they have to come before us? Because that's going to
It's going to change it.
Change a lot.
change the road.
Yep, they come back.
This still needs to go in front of town meeting, correct?
Sewer easement.
Sewer easement, yep,
Yeah, that's at the end of the month, toward the end of October, correct?
correct. October 26th.
So is there anyone from the audience that has any comments? Obviously not, because there's nobody here. Is there anybody online that's involved in this meeting that has a comment regarding this project? Being none, may I have a motion to approve?
Close.
Yeah, may I have a motion to close the hearing? May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Ron?
Aye.
Rakesh?
Aye.
Steve? Oops.
I just want to grab your attention for 1 minute.
Sure.
Since the last meeting, too, we had requested 3 waivers. We've eliminated 2 of those. I just want to make sure that's part of the approval. So the waivers that have been eliminated now are the parking stall length went from 18 to 18 and a half to comply.
That waiver's rescinded.
Yep. And then the dumpster enclosure was added as you had requested last. So it's just the waiver for the site access off of
For the 3?
For the distance.
Yes.
So it's 1,500 feet from the road instead of, Oh, okay, that access.
I just wanted to make that clear to the board that that's the single waiver that we're asking for at this point.
I think that's approved because you're putting the other access road in.
No, I think I was wrong. It's the distance between exit and entrance into that is because they're so close together, they need the waiver.
Okay.
I didn't have any issues, so.
I think it was a better condition. Okay.
Okay,
I needed to approve to close.
yes.
Steve, aye.
And myself, aye. The meeting is now closed. May I have a motion to approve based on the variances that they've requested and have been approved or eliminated?
Waivers.
Pardon me?
Waivers.
Waivers. Whether they've been removed or approved, there's 3 of them. We just discussed them. Do I have a motion to approve this project with all the standard conditions regarding the state Mass DOT getting their permission and all that?
I'll make a motion.
May I have a second?
This includes the town meeting approval.
Correct.
I'll second.
Ron?
I'll abstain, John.
Okay. I just want to make it clear that this is all based on whether or not they get a sewer easement. If they don't get the sewer easement, then they have to come back before the board for a new layout for their sewer discharge, correct? That's part of the condition. Myself, John Regan, is an aye. It is a vote. I did?
No.
Okay, I said yes.
Never mind.
You said yes?
Must have zoned out. Don't mind me.
You guys are all set?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Why is that on the modification package?
It's a Volvo.
That's a different one?
That's what I emailed you guys about Friday afternoon or Friday morning.
Other business modification to Patrick Motors, 519 Washington Street. Do we have a hearing open or?
It's a modification, so the board will have to determine if it's minor or major. If it's a major modification, they would then have to advertise a public hearing.
Okay.
I didn't think personally necessary, but it's a board's decision.
Okay.
Hey, good evening. For the record, Patrick McCarty Companies, here on behalf of NJ Realty Trust. We're requesting a minor modification to our approved site plan for 519 Washington Street, which is the Volvo Volkswagen project. I've highlighted the pertinent section of the approved site plan, which is the Volkswagen side of the building. So we're just wrapping up construction on the Volvo side. And if you recall, we added about a 3,500 square foot addition at the back of the building for additional service bays for Volvo. Since the time we permitted the project, is that me? Sorry. Since the time that we permitted the project, manufacturers have been doing a lot of electric vehicle rollouts, and electric vehicles actually require more space in the service area. You have the bay that the vehicle's being serviced, which has a little bit different lift to be able to get batteries out and other electric vehicle-specific maintenance. And then you have what is referred to as a dead bay adjacent to that, which is an empty bay, to allow you to get that battery out and service the car. So in laying out the interior of the Volkswagen side of the building, we realized that we would, benefit from additional service space. So what we're proposing is to take this highlighted area on the approved site plan that was 10 or so, 10 parking spaces. And simply eliminate those 10 parking spaces and do the mirror image addition for the Volkswagen side. So we dropped 10 spaces. It's a swap of impervious area because we had parking spaces there. We're putting the building there now. I adjusted the parking count. We're still way in excess of what's required by zoning. So we're hoping that you would agree that this is a minor modification, as it's something that we'd like to proceed with right away.
So you have two, one on the left, one on the right, 3,558 square feet each. Or 3,558 and 3,565 square feet.
Yeah.
In the rear of the building, basically.
Yep, so the Volvo one's already constructed. And we were going to just do the Volvo addition and keep the Volkswagen service area as is. But then when we laid out lifts and these dead bays for electric vehicles for both manufacturers, we said we could really use that space, same amount of space on the other side. So we're just wanting to swap those 10 parking spots for a little bit bigger addition, which of course means a little bit higher assessed value and a little bit higher taxes. So, and a few more jobs, right? Because it's more technicians that we could add in the facility.
I myself, I don't have a problem with it because you're not changing the actual distance from the property because you already had stuff out there. It's toward the rear of the building. It's kind of hidden from the front of the road anyway, so it's not an eyesore. We're only losing 10 spaces. You're over the limit anyway. I personally don't have a problem with this. Could I get a motion to approve this as a minor change? Does anybody have any questions?
Do we have to do the minor first and then the change second? I'll make a motion that this is a minor modification.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, Ron?
Based on what you're saying, John, I'll say aye.
Aye.
Myself, aye. It is a vote. It's been voted a minor modification. Now, what do we have to approve?
Approve the modification.
Oh, we have a motion to approve the modification.
I'll make a motion to approve the modification.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor, Ron?
Aye.
Rakesh? Steve? Myself, aye. It is a vote. You're all set.
Great, thank you very much.
Welcome.
End the night with an easy one.
No, it was not an easy night. There's no meeting minutes to approve. New business unforeseen by me, none. Any new town planner update?
One thing, just a reminder, we're still looking for an alternate. If anybody knows anybody, ask them to fill out an application. I'd like to let us fill that slot.
Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor, Ron?
Aye.
Rakesh?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Myself, aye. John Regan is a vote. Meeting is adjourned.